Get your Amazon Prime free trial started today. We at Cigars and Sea Stories love Amazon Prime. We use it all the time. I myself, Mike Penny, am a member of Amazon Prime. I use it for live streaming on music, video, things of that nature. Sign up for a free Amazon trial, 30-day trial right now. You can find it on the resources page over at cigarsandseastories.com/resources. Take a look at that ASAP. Folks, if you haven't already done so, check out Audible. You can get your latest podcast. You can get the best in audiobooks. And if you're like me, you're always on the road. You're traveling around, in and out of airports, stuff like that. Always got the earbuds in. Check out Audible. You can get a free trial today when you go to audibletrial.com/cigarsandc. That's audibletrial.com/cigarsandc. Check it out. Due to the graphic nature of its content, listener discretion is advised.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for
On this episode of Cigars and Sea Stories, the whole Cigars and Sea Stories team sits down with fellow Marine Travis McVey. Mr. McVey over here is the founder of Heroes Vodka, and we are so honored to have you with us. Are you there, Travis?
Cheers. Yes, I am. It's a pleasure to be with you all, too, as well.
Awesome. Yeah, so where are you? What are you doing right now with Heroes Vodka?
Well, I'm actually sitting here in Nashville, Tennessee. I've been on the road quite a bit. We just launched into New Jersey, all of New York City, and Massachusetts. I've been on the road for the past week, and we're actually getting ready for the Country Music Awards here coming up Wednesday night. We just became the official vodka for Bridgestone Arena here in Nashville, Tennessee, where they have the award show at.
Nice.
Look at that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's fun.
That's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, it's great because I used to work at Bridgestone Firestone after I got out of the Marine Corps as a quality assurance engineer and a tire builder for like 16 years. So that's great to see my vodka in there, especially some of the people I didn't like at work there now. So that's always fun.
Oh, yes. Hell yes. So how long did you serve in the Marine Corps?
A total of 8 years. I did 4 years active and 4 years active reserve. But I was one of those weird people that went to the Army Reserves at 16, mostly by my parents' encouragement. So at 16, I went there and went back and finished high school. Then right after high school, I went active duty Marine Corps.
Wow. Okay. What was your MOS in the Corps?
0351, and I tank demolitions, infantry.
That's well, look at you.
Awesome MOS.
Yeah.
The only MOS for real
That's
men.
bullshit.
You know there might be another one in the room.
Exactly. So it's kind of funny showing up for MCRD San Diego with one of the old red Army Reserve ID cards, and they really enjoyed reconditioning my minds. What they told me they did.
Another freaking Hollywood Marine.
You were born.
Yeah, I had to get up.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's the best though. The Liberty there. I mean, it's great. I've been to the East Coast. It's not that great compared to.
Wait, you got Liberty in boot camp?
No. I'm talking about infantry school on the weekends.
Oh, okay.
That's,
Hell yes.
That's back when Tijuana was actually allowed.
Hell yes. I never allegedly went there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we never made curfew out of there. That was the problem. You always had to hide after midnight.
That's how hyped up these parasailing guys are. They actually believe you when you say you had Liberty in boot camp. I mean,
I know.
Really? Come on.
Yeah.
I didn't believe him.
Oh, dude.
No, but Justin.
Almost.
I'm not a Parris Island guy. I'm the only Parris Island guy, dude.
Really? You're the only... Wow.
As we say in the South, bless your heart.
Yeah, bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
What unit were you with, Travis?
I was actually out of infantry school. I got selected for a Marine Barracks 8th and I, Yankee White. I was a Marine Presidential Guard for the 41st President H.W. Bush for a little over 2 years. And then I was a section leader for Weapons Company, 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines.
2-8.
Yeah,
Nice.
America's Battalion.
Nice.
Yeah, man. That's yeah.
Yeah, so that was fun, but I didn't really enjoy Jacksonville too much.
No, it's a shithole.
Yes, the armpit. Well, every Marine Corps base is about like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
still
to an
live out in the
extent.
Lejeune area, and I stay as far from Jacksonville as I can.
It's changed quite a bit. I went up there a
So,
couple of years ago with my friend Stephen Cocker, and he's a Marine singer-songwriter. And a
Yeah.
bunch of us went there for a concert on the base, and then did the regular rounds to the Dirtwood or the Driftwood or whatever it's
Oh, my
called.
Hell
God.
yes.
It's like a classic stop for all Marines.
Yeah, dust that one off.
It's classy.
it's still there.
Yeah, it's
Still there.
still
Every day.
there.
Or
Yeah, my
certain
friend-
of it. Yeah, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, my friend Jeff Walton's a Marine. He was with 3-8, but he runs a business called Heads for Profits. Runs all the beer business basically in Nashville. They do all the beer cleaning lines, tap rooms, and all that stuff. And he went with us on that. So that was his first place to go was the Dirtwood. So we kind of made fun of him the rest of the night.
Oh yeah. I spent all of a week there for school, for formal school instructor course, and
Yes.
the one place that I needed to see was the Driftwood. Because I had a buddy who was from Lejeune. He's like, look, bro, listen, don't expect anything, much. But like, you're required to go there.
Yes, it is
Yeah.
a requirement.
That's kind of the Marine bucket list there.
Right.
How about, was it the Thunderbird was another place? like a bar?
Yes, the Thunder Chicken.
Oh, I have a classic story from the Thunderbird. I think my last night in the Marine Corps EAS, we went there and they fixed me a Dr. Pepper shooter. If anybody knows what one of those are, but they set it on fire. And the bartender, I have no reason why he put that behind me. So because we had a few, I turned around, knocked it over, and the bar goes on fire. So we get kicked out like at 02 in the morning. So I've not been back to that place since.
For it? He didn't take responsibility.
That's good.
It was just kind of caught us by surprise. Of course, we tried to put it out, but it went out pretty quick. We still drank our drinks and left, though.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So were you staying at the Triangle that night too, or not?
No. We took a cab back to the barracks.
Shit.
It was one of the guys who left in the cab. He come beating on the window about an hour later.
Nice.
Good times, though.
Debauchery.
So I saw this really good picture of you on your website from your days back there doing the Presidential Guard thing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's back when I had a
Stand in front of a
28-inch waist.
helicopter with your M1 rifle.
Yes, that was good dude. That's the only bad thing about that. The wool uniform in July and August in D.C. is pretty rough.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then the Marine Corps makes you white pants, but of course when they let you wear those, you're not allowed to sit down the entire time you have those on. So that was always fun.
Yeah, God forbid you get a spec gun or something.
Yes. So, but that it was a lot of fun. I
So-
met a lot of great guys there, so really good duty. But yeah, Marine Barracks. That's one of the places that kind of started the seed for this project that I'm doing now. Because two other Marines, I became very good friends. Because all of us here, when you serve, you have that bond. Like it's just very hard for other people to understand. But one of my friends was Richard Gaston. Richard was also from Indiana, where I was born and raised at. And all he ever talked about was being an Indiana State Trooper after he got out. But Richard was one of those guys, always the life of the party, always made you laugh if he was in a shitty condition or something like that. And Richard did achieve his dream, but unfortunately, he was killed in the line of duty as an Indiana State Trooper. And his daughter was just 6 months old when he was killed. And my other friend, Thomas Rabjohn, that I met there, he was from Arizona. And Tommy had an old beat-up pickup truck. So, when you're in the Corps and one of your buddies has got a car, he's like golden. So
Right.
we'd go home on leave to Indiana because it was too far to go to Arizona for Tommy, of course. So he liked to fish, and Richard lived in a big fishing town called Brookville, Indiana. And still today, they have a big bass tournament in his name since he was killed. So that's pretty awesome that they do every year for him. But
Wow.
Tom, he got out and became a Phoenix police officer and worked for the Phoenix Police Department for quite a while, but went back into the Arizona National Guard with their explosive ordnance division there, and he was killed in Afghanistan dismantling an IED, and he had 3 daughters, 10, 12, and 14. So that really affected me. After that happened, that's why I was sitting in a bar thinking about my friends, and that's when this whole concept came to me, to create something to honor them and to everybody that serves and support us, a true way to do that, which I can talk to you a little bit about more when we get into the vodka.
Right.
But Marine Barracks was a great place. I mean, at 19 years old, to be standing by the White House, being at Camp David, being at the Pentagon, being actually at the center of power that we see, through United States there in Washington, D.C. So, when I was there, Colin Powell was the chairman of the Joint Chief. And actually, my commanding officer was Peter Pace, which became the first chairman, of the Joint Chiefs, the 1st Marine to hold that position. He was a colonel when I was there.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I love that guy.
Yeah, and Dick Cheney was the Secretary of Defense. So it was actually a very different world then, though, because we still in the Cold War was just very ending at that time. The wall just fell a year before I got there. I don't know. Actually, I think it was 89 or 88. So I got there in October of 89, and Boris Yeltsin was there. Gorbachev was the first president of Russia that came there that I got to meet, and then Boris Yeltsin came there, and so it was always at the arrivals when these dignitaries and stuff came there. Then we was part of the Marine ceremonial drill team, so we had to do all the funerals at Arlington National Cemetery. So I did probably over 300 of those.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but but on the Liberty side of it, it was great. There's like 5 colleges there. You're 19 or 20 years old, and sometimes our duties required to be official military escorts for the nannies, and most of the nannies there were from Sweden. So we would show up at the Hilton where they would rent this space in our blues and dance with these girls, and then when and most of them were nannies for the senators and people there in D.C. So when those people went away, those ladies would invite us over to the houses to have some parties and stuff. So that was
yes.
That's a rough job. Rough.
Yes.
Rough.
So Travis.
Yes.
Travis. So when you say the word nanny, it sort of brings brings
You
to mind
mean
an
au
image of
pair?
Yes.
Yeah, like an old lady, that's what comes to mind.
Well,
Tell us how it really was.
They're probably about 24, 25 years old, blonde hair, blue eyes, most of them from Sweden and Norway. So they were very attractive women. So,
Nice.
but I was 19.
Yes.
Yes.
Talking
So
about
that
a
was the nice
senator's house, damn sure wasn't the worst thing those walls ever seen. I'll tell you right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Jeez. That's
Oh,
crazy.
man, that's awesome. Good times.
Yeah.
Good times guarding the president, leader of the free world. No big deal.
But at Camp David wasn't that fun. It's mostly you're just sitting there watching squirrels play. But it's
Right. Right. Oh,
Yes.
God. I know a bunch of those guys, man. I'm telling you. I was stationed right there in Quantico and Liberty.
okay. We used to go to Quantico quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. Well, you guys in the National Capital Region got to do your annual rifle qualification out there. Staying
Yes,
out
and,
at the luxurious Camp Upshur.
Exactly. Then we had General Gray was the commandant at the time, so he wanted us trained just like we were regular Fleet Marine infantry Marines, which is great because we had some of the best training there was at Quantico. Was all the courses we got to take and the different foreign militaries that we got to train with while I was there. We got to train with the Royal British Marines a few times, which when they came to town, it got a little out of hand sometimes. But
Right.
They were kind of fun. They threw some smoke grenades in a local bar one time, which didn't go over very well.
Right.
That's awesome.
But it turned out pretty good.
Oh, Jesus.
British Royal Marines are a blast.
As long as
to hang
nobody
out
died,
with.
right?
Yeah, them and the Canadians are about the 2 craziest people I've met, I believe. But they're a lot of fun.
So much fun to hang out with, especially in a bar.
The Aussies
they
are
are.
hilarious,
They are.
too.
And on the weekends, we get to go to Annapolis sometimes. A friend of mine had a boat, so you get to go to water skiing up in that area. Then he somehow knew some of the girls at the Australian embassy, so that always turned out for a very nice weekend.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
There it is.
You just said the worst job in the whole Corps.
Oh, it was. Yes, it was the worst job ever. That's what I keep telling people.
You're not getting a whole lot of sympathy from anybody.
See, I don't know if it was the same when you were in, but M Street down in Georgetown.
Oh, yes.
And you go down there and you're rocking like shit kickers and like a pearl snap, and with like a dip in your lip. And all of the chicks out there are waiting for like boat shoes and wayfarers. And then they see this guy who's got calluses on his hands come strolling down the street. And it's like, oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You hear they should have some theme music behind your ear when you're coming in there. Usually it was the people beating on the plastic drums back then. That's when I was real popular over in that area. I remember that. And but when I was there, Zima was still a popular drink, so you can tell how old I am now.
Ooh, that's horrible.
I didn't have one of those. The belts that had the little silver tip on it with the different shoes, and the styles back then were just a little different.
Right there, man.
But it was great every morning. Our PT, which is crazy, we'd stay out kind of late. Then you get up at 0 dark 30, and we'd be running 6 miles Usually it was a 5K in the morning around the Capitol building back up to the barracks. And then sometimes when we would do the Lincoln Memorial course, it was quite a bit farther, but it was pretty motivating when you're out running in the morning. You get to pass all these different monuments to the different, people that's made this country what it is, and just realize the history where you're running through there, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah. That's very cool.
That is really.
Yeah. And then, of course, Marine Barracks is the oldest Marine base in the Marine Corps. Thomas Jefferson actually helped find that. And the Commandant's House is right there, which is the only building that the British didn't burn during the War of 1812 when they invaded D.C. there.
Did you ever get a chance to do the Marine Corps Marathon while you were up there?
No, I did not do that at the time. I thought we'd run enough, so I didn't want to spend that day doing another marathon. But no, I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do that. A lot of my friends have went back since and done that. That's one of my goals one of these days, is to actually do that.
Yeah. That's one of the cool things about it, is having all the monuments, as you go by, and it's like getting a history lesson as you're running down the road.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I did one of the first Rolling Thunders there. We had some motorcycles, so I got to ride in probably the first or second one of that.
Hell yes.
Which was pretty neat. I want to go back and do one of those, or at least be part of the event, which is pretty amazing.
It is truly. I've done a Rolling Thunder myself, and it is truly awesome. It is a hell of a lot of fun.
I was recently invited to the Marine Corps Executive Forum, which is where the Marine Corps invites different executives and CEOs of companies. And you don't have to be a veteran or a Marine, but just a CEO or a founder of a company. But if you're a Marine or a veteran, I think it has to be 10 years after you get out, but they invite you to come either the East Coast or West Coast, and you get to see and fire a lot of different Marine Corps weapon systems, fly in some of our aircraft. And then on the East Coast, you'll go to the Marine Corps Museum. You'll have an actual beer at the Tun Tavern, little display they have in there. And then you go to the Pentagon and have a briefing by the general staff, and then a cocktail party at the Commandant's House and see one of the parades there.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's a pretty neat parade. I didn't know anything about it, and a friend of mine told me about it and put me in for it, and they actually called me. So it was it's pretty interesting thing they do for get people involved in the Marine Corps mission, let them know what the Marine Corps actually does, which I think is a great recruiting tool for the Marine Corps to the different companies across the United States, actually, what their tax dollars and what things that they can invest in.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Well, and there's, that actually touches on a very serious note as well, to where a lot of these executives, they see the effectiveness, at each individual level throughout the Marine Corps, and as you put it, know the product of potentially the labor of the workforce, or whoever, their competitors maybe, as they're coming out.
Right.
So yeah, that's very cool. Getting eyes on. Yeah. That's awesome. Hell yes.
Yeah, so we also did the parades there, the evening parade. I don't know if you ever got to see one of the evening parades at Marine Barracks. They also do one on Tuesdays or Wednesdays in front of the Iwo Jima Memorial, where you got to learn all the different drill movements to music. So we used to spend some days in the summer, like for 3 months, you would drill for 5 or 6 hours a day, which that's the bad side of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Having to do that
those
constantly.
parades are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
I think any American, really, if they haven't had a chance to see it, they should definitely get up there and check it out, because that's a really moving experience, seeing that thing at 8th and I.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So, I'm sorry, you went from security forces over to 2-8. Did you deploy with 2-8?
Yes, we went to. Luckily, I got out before 9/11 happened. I actually got out in 93 off active duty, then off active reserves in 96. Okinawa, Westpac, South Korea. I went to Mountain Warfare School in South Korea. We got to climb Mount Fuji there when we was in Japan, and then I did a deployment when I was in the Marine Reserves to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, after the Cuban refugee crisis of 92 or 93, I guess, when Clinton was president there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when it was. Yeah, that's when he said all the Cuban refugees could come to the United States, and I guess one of his advisors reminded him of the Mariel boat lift under Carter's administration. He was up for re-election, so they halted all of them there, and it just became a big mess there for quite a few months.
Yeah, we had a ton of guys from Lejeune, or Lejeune,
Yeah.
go out, and they were running around on Coast Guard cutters, plucking Cuban refugees out of the water, like all up in the Caribbean Sea.
Yeah, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Was, just the camps they had there with Constantino around them. They would go on food strike only when CNN would show up, and they had better conditions and water supply than we had. We were eating MREs and taking a bath or a shower like every 5 days.
Right, that's how it always is.
Yeah. So it was always fun to watch that.
Dear Lord.
But I'm looking forward to going back to Cuba now to the good side of it. My buddy, the Marine guy I was telling you about earlier from Texas, they've got a new rum called Cubana Rum, and they're looking at buying a bar in Havana, Cuba for us to hang out sometimes down there. So maybe we can do a live broadcast from Havana, Cuba one of these days.
Hell
have
yes.
some Cuban
That would be
cigars.
sweet.
And
I love
all
me
that.
some rum.
I will take you up on that any day. That is awesome.
So that's going to be a fun event.
No, that's very cool. Yeah, so
Yeah.
what have been some of the other events that you've done? Because you've been around, man. You've been around in the past year since we saw you at the EBV National Conference.
Yes, gosh, like that Johnny Cash song, "I've Been Everywhere, Man." I think that's kind of what it's been like. But anytime I mean, it's very hard. I'm a single dad, so that makes it hard, especially when my son's in school. When he's in the summer, it's a lot of fun because this last summer we got to go to Mount Vernon and go to George Washington's distillery because a lot of people. He was really probably the first veteran-owned business in the United States of America. His plantation he had there, the things that he growed there, but he also made whiskey and a lot of it. He had a Scottish gentleman which managed his properties there, so he started making whiskey. And for a long time, the distillery went out of business for many, many years, and I did a big fundraiser probably about 10 years ago. And I took my son by there, and they was actually making it that day. And while they're making it, it's closed. But I knocked on the door. Of course, I'm a Marine. Were they going to tell me no?
Right.
So I knocked on the door, and the master distiller, after they told me I couldn't come in, he heard me talking, and he came out. He's the master distiller for Whistle Pig Whiskey. He was for Maker's Mark. But he's also, he went to West Point, and he was also a professor at West Point. So he brought me and my son in and showed us the process, how George Washington actually made the whiskey back in the time that they did it, and they sell it now at Mount Vernon. So it was pretty cool to take him to see that. Then he got to go into New York City and go right in front of the statue of George Washington on Wall Street, where he was sworn in as the first president. So it was pretty neat to share that history with my son.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember we got to meet him in NatCon as well, which was kind of neat. The fact that you're able to take him around with you during certain things is probably quite educational for him and just kind of shows him the ropes of, what real life is about. So I commend you for that. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah, he comes to the Veterans Day Parade with me about every year. He knows a lot of my Marine buddies. He knows the crazy ones and the not so crazy ones. So he has nicknames for a few of them, so they always get a big kick out of him. But very smart kid. He just made all straight A's again. He scores like 98% in all of his classes. He's taking summer classes at Vanderbilt University for computer code and stuff.
Give me a break. Way smarter than his dad, right?
Yeah, I don't know where he got it from. I don't know. I have to ask his mom what happened there. So I think he got it from his grandpa's. Her dad was a very, very smart guy in the banking business, and my dad's a pretty smart guy. So, but he's a good kid. I just hate being away from him sometimes when I have to be, but he understands.
Yeah, because it really looks, it's like literally every time I open up my laptop, it seems like you're off to somewhere else, whether you're in Connecticut or running around. You actually were up in Connecticut with one of my my old platoon commander, Justin Nash.
Oh, yes, Justin. He's a good guy. Him and Corey's brother,
yeah. Him and I were in the Army together. And you were up there for the golf tournament, right? Up in Mohegan.
Yeah, they had a golf tournament and a big gala that night. Yeah, because I showed him the picture of it. He just smiled. He said, "You got to be shitting me." I'm like, "No." Yeah, he had a lot of good things to say about you. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Till Duty is Done is doing a great thing. With their website, they're doing a big concert on Veterans Day, which I wish I could make it, but I've already got plans here in Nashville.
Yeah, so do I. I wish I could too, but it's gonna be awesome. Well, I think Madison Rising's gonna be there too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Madison Rising. Actually, Tony Orlando from back in the day with Tally Yellow Ribbon.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it's gonna be
and of course Trace Adkins, who is a huge veteran supporter. So
yes, Dropkick Murphys.
Yes.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
Yeah, so those guys, they got a great big following up there.
Yeah, Justin, he's a fellow EBV grad too, from UConn in I think 2012.
Oh,
he went
really?
to EV as well. So
Yeah.
he's a pretty good friend and pretty good guy. So
Yeah, that organization is doing some amazing things with them. I'm working a lot with them up in the area. Just what they do, they really support Heroes Vodka. They'll go out and buy. I mean, I was at one bottle signing. They showed about 3 cases of it. I signed all the bottles, and what they do is they will give them to their donors as a thank you for people, that give them money and do certain things for them for the veterans. So it's a great way. It helps my business out because so much of my business, a lot of people already think that I'm this big rich guy and they want free stuff all the time. They don't realize that it's a hard business and I can't give away alcohol, but they support that in what we're doing, and it really makes a big difference with it until we get to that point where we have enough money where we can really do a huge difference out there.
yeah, so I grew up in Connecticut, so I know I see you running around over there, and I'm like, oh my God, I know where that's at. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I like Connecticut. It's a nice state. We're with Hartley and Parker as our distributor there. So
Okay.
out there in Connecticut, if they can't find it in their store, have them get it from Hartley and Parker, and they can get it there for them.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so we have I went up there with a concert with Stephen Cochran, and what's the name of the place? Wallingford, Connecticut. Yeah, we did some events through that area, which is a pretty good time. That's where I met Justin for the first time.
Yeah, he's there. The place is great. So
Yeah.
and then I see you spend a ton of time in New York City as well. So
Yes, that's a different kind of state there, but it's broken up. We have different distributors there because of the way it's
Really?
around there. New York City, we're with Bravo as our distributor there, but I got into 10 of the biggest bars in Midtown Manhattan. People may know of New York Legends Bar, the Playwrights, Bourbon Street Bar and Grill, and also the Union League Club in New York City, which 15 presidents have been members there. I actually spoke at an event there, and I was sitting next to this gentleman, which was Rudy Giuliani's former chief of staff for his anti-terrorism task force unit there, and he heard my story, and at the end of it, he asked me, was it in New York? I said, we're getting ready to be. So he started contacting the club's food and beverage director, and now, they kicked that. Tito's Vodka was their house vodka, but after they heard my story, they're like, Heroes Vodka is now our house vodka, so they do about 8 to 10 cases a month in this private club. And
that is awesome.
yes, and just to see the members, President Reagan was a member there, John F. Kennedy, just different, and all the different veterans from West Point and Annapolis that are members of this area. A lot of veterans, it's in some of the big companies on Wall Street. A lot of these guys are members there, and they really support other veteran-owned business because they actually sent out an email to a man named Pete Fitzpatrick, and Pete was a Marine back in the 80s, and he owns those 10 bars, and they do about $25 million a year in wine and spirits just in the bar business.
Goodness.
Wow.
And his hotel there at the Bourbon Street Bar and Grill there is where all the Medal of Honor recipients stay when they come to New York, and the Commandant of the Marine Corps stays for free. He puts them up in this hotel. So he called me up and said, I want you to come to New York City. I want to meet you. I want to put your vodka in on my bar. So show up, start telling him my spiel. After a few minutes, he said, just be quiet. I don't care about all the medals and stuff. You're a Marine. I want to support it. It's all about price here in New York, but your price is a little bit higher because it's not a well vodka, but you're giving back, 25% of your profits. So we're going to support that. And we stayed out drinking till about 3 a.m. And I sent him a note, said there's a new Irish proverb, never go out drinking with an Irish Catholic Marine that owns 10 bars.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah, my fingertips hurt the next day from that experience.
Right.
It was a good time.
Oh, that sounds fun.
So that's the great thing about being a veteran in this business. It opens doors, that I've never seen open before because we are the world's largest fraternity. Then you add being a Marine on it because Marines are the craziest and the most – they're like the religious branch, I guess, of all the branches. So you see another Marine, for some reason, they've got to do that look at you and the smile, and then you start doing business together.
It's about true,
Right.
though. It definitely is.
That smile where you're like, you ever fantasize about killing terrorists?
Yeah, they come up with the craziest things they're talking about to you, and just some of the most embarrassing things to say to you, too, as well.
Oh, yes. Cigars and Sea Stories is proud to support and sling Counter-Strike Coffee. Counter-Strike Coffee, I want you to know, is meant to be drink black. Now, I myself love coffee. I'm a big coffee drinker. I went away from black coffee for a little while. Needed the cream and sugar when I was rocking it with the generic blend. Counter-Strike Coffee brought me back into the fold in a huge, huge way. They do a great dark roast. I'm a big fan of napalm. That's my fave. Smooth operator is good, though. It can go with cakes and pies, and I got a bit of a sweet tooth. I know a couple of us do, you know. And then also Firewatch. I mean, Firewatch, that's going to be the kick in the ass that you need in order to get your day going the right way. You know what I'm saying? If you haven't already done so, check out counterstrikecoffee.com. Use promo code Cigars and Sea. You will get 10% off. Again, that's counterstrikecoffee.com. Use promo code Cigars and Sea to get yourself 10% off.
Well, other than networking, what as a Marine particularly do you carry with you on the day-to-day that helps you out the most for some of the younger veteranpreneurs out?
Well, it's a lot of research. You know, you got to be passionate about what you're doing. If I wasn't passionate about what I'm doing, I would have gave up on this a long time ago. But that's when I got out of the Marine Corps. You know, I got back in life. You know, there's only like 1% of the people serving today. The other 99% are living peacefully and prosperly at home, while the 1% serves. And sometimes we forget we've been at war for 15 years. My son's 14. He's never known a time when we've not been at war. But a lot of people still don't realize we're at war because it's not like it used to be. And I feel bad because I got guilty of that myself till my friends were killed. I was sitting in a bar. I've been working in a factory for 15 years, been going through life. You get married, you get divorced, you go through different things in life. And finally, I get to thinking about my friends one day and just felt, horrible, for not realizing, the true cost. I knew that. And so I wanted to do something about it. I kept seeing all these things about the VA and the different, how many people were getting killed today in Iraq and Afghanistan at the time when I was researching all this. And I said, if my friends can, give their life for this country, I can start a business. So even though I travel all over the place, I still sit down and think about it. I'm not getting shot at. I'm not having to shoot at nobody. My friends gave their life for this country, and so many have. I can travel around and do what I'm doing because I feel like now I can do more out of uniform than I could do in uniform, because if this company, when it does get as big as Sky and Rebecca, I'll be able to give away $10 to $12 million a year and make a true difference.
That's awesome.
Right, the leash is off, It's like,
yes.
It's like all that tenacity, all that vigor you get from just being a cockstrong warrior, man, God, Marine all day.
Yeah.
Like, now you don't have anyone saying, "Oh, by the way, you're going to police call it too."
Well, right, the leash is off. It's like all that tenacity, all that vigor you get from just being.
And then in the civilian world, I worked at Bridgestone. I got offered management jobs and stuff, but it wasn't the same because the Marine Corps, they got to do what you tell them. You get involved with the unions and different cliques. In the civilian world, it's just not the same, and I really didn't like it. I did well at it, but I got my degree, and then. After my friend was killed, I was sitting in a bar thinking about them, and I kept seeing these liquor commercials, like Miller Lite. If you send in a tap or wherever that bottle cap is, they'll send in some money, or you got to send in a rebate. It was only on Veterans Day or the 4th of July, and it's basically lip service, acting like they cared about us, but they were doing it totally in the wrong way. So I was like, why don't we have our own company that's truly veteran-owned, that we truly give back in the right way? So that's when I sat down and I came up with the name Heroes Vodka, because I was like, well, what are my friends to me? I said, they were my heroes, and the people that gave the supreme sacrifice for this nation, that's what they are to me. And all the people that served and the people that supported them, I wanted them to have their own brand where they can raise their glass in honor of their honor, courage, and commitment and service. So I trademarked the name. I taught myself how to do all the intellectual property because, I'm a Marine. If you can't tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it or die trying. So I went out and got on the computer and Googled everything I could possibly find out about the spirits industry. And a name Sidney Frank kept coming up, and Tito Beverage. And I got to researching all that. And basically, Mr. Sidney Frank said the American people are so pretentious that they will pay $15 more for a bottle of vodka made in France, because that's at the time when Absolute was a big brand. And he was right. He sold that company for over $2 billion.
Wow.
But the thing about him was he was already a rich man, and he earned a lot of that himself. But he had the distribution rights for Jägermeister in the entire United States. He had the East Coast, then the West Coast gentleman didn't pay his bill, so the guy from Germany gave the entire United States. But the forward thinker that he was, and probably a Marine probably gave him the ideal. He probably started doing the Jägerette girls, the shot girls. So that got very popular. He already had that network in all the bars. So when he'd sell the Jägermeister, he had the Grey Goose, and the bartenders, he'd say, "We'll try this." And then he had enough money for a full page ad in the New York Times. But he did very well with that company. When he sold that, there was some people in his offices and stuff that got, $200,000 bonuses and everything, because the amount of time that you worked there is how much bigger your bonus got when they sold that company.
Wow.
So I admire him for sharing that with his. I'd hate to be the guy that showed up there after a week and get $500, but still you should be happy for that.
Right.
But I sat down and I learned how to do all the intellectual property, and I went to the Small Business Development Center in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, which is about 40 miles outside of Nashville. And luckily, my business counselor there was an old Korean War veteran. And, he gave me the encouragement I need, and I found an old magazine of NAVOBA, the National Veteran-Owned Business Association. So I started looking through that, because the biggest fear you can get in business is that you're going to fail, that you're just too stupid, you can't do it. But luckily, I saw people there like Phil Knight that founded Nike, Fred Smith that founded FedEx, Sam Walton, Bill Marriott, Conrad Hilton. All these people I'm mentioning are veterans. Stan Lee, the comic book genius, veteran. Yeah. Domino's Pizza was founded by a Marine. Little Caesars, I guess Marines like pizza joints, because about every one I've researched were founded by Marines.
Right. Taco Bell as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's just amazing. It gives you the encouragement. It's like, look, if that guy can do this, I can do that.
So what you're saying about all these resources and things that you tapped into kind of begs the question. You say you got your degree. First of all, where'd you go to school? What'd you study? And second of all, how important do you think getting that degree was to your process of starting the company?
Well, when I first I went to Vol State Community College, I went business administration. Just gave me the skills to be more organized. I mean, the Marine Corps gave me the drive to be a leader, but sometimes you need the tools in order to make that organized. Because being an entrepreneur, you have that shiny light syndrome. I still have it. Somebody yells squirrel or something like this, I'm looking around, but I have these tools now that can manage my time and understanding how the business process works in the civilian side, because the military side, there's a business side to it too. But if you know both business sides, it can really, really help you. And then at Bridgestone, I just took advantage of some of the programs they had to continue my studies, and I finally got a bachelor's degree in business administration. I took every MCI course I could take when I was in the Marine Corps as well. But just learning from other people was my biggest resource. The other degree is important, but you don't have to have it to be successful. There's so many people that hasn't. I just had it there, and now we have all these programs where you can get a free education a lot of times for the GI Bill. So take advantage of that, because of the networks that you can have by going to school and going to college. You can meet so many other people that can help you meet someone else. It's kind of like another fraternity. You have your military fraternity, now you have this college fraternity, and it really helps a lot with that. But then also sitting down and studying people like I did. I was passionate about what I wanted to do, so I sat down and found top people in the industry, and I would call people up that had knowledge in it. A lot of people want to share that. They want to talk about themselves. If they say no, they say no. But and then I researched through the National Veteran-Owned Business Association. They have an online source of tools you wouldn't believe, with all the different supply diversity programs for all these big companies, the names of all these other veterans that started companies. So I just started calling people, and it shows you how to set up your business to go through there. I learned about the Patriot Express loan, which I'm not sure if it's still available or not, but that's where I got $60,000 just to, help pay for my prototypes, my intellectual property, the lawyers and things like that to get it going. So it's just a process of putting that all together. And, there's going to be a lot of haters, because I know at Bridgestone people say, well, you're just stupid. You're never going to do this. I mean, there's Grey Goose, there's Smirnoff and all this, and they're all big corporations. But, I had a mission. I was passionate about something. And you work your ass off, good luck comes to those that work their ass off. It just doesn't happen. You got to work your butt off. And small elite teams make a difference. It was just myself to start out with, and I researched this and found everything. And then I had this counselor who believed in me, and then he introduced me to a business attorney, and my business attorney knew Robert Lippman, which Robert is my business partner now. But Robert's owns Lippman Brothers Distribution. They've been in business since 1939. They have state permit number 1 for distribution of alcohol in the state of Tennessee. His grandfather, was an immigrant that came to this country and fought in World War I. So I know when I called Robert up, the guy said, well, call him up. And I was like, okay, what's he going to say? No, that's all he could say. But when I called him up, he actually answered his own phone, and he said, buddy, I've got 100 different vodkas in my warehouse, but since you're a veteran, I'll give you 20 minutes. But I came prepared. That's the thing. You need to be prepared. If you want to do something, you need to have it put together, and you're going to sell it to someone and tell people your vision. So I put together a nice PowerPoint, went out and bought a nice suit, had it all put together, had my prototypes and everything together, and just shared with him my story of why I wanted to create this product, and had it all there before him, showed him there's 23 million veterans and how I wanted to give back. And I could tell after a while how it resonated with him. At the end of it, he said, you know, I really want to help you. I'll distribute your vodka regardless. But I didn't want to seem over anxious, so I made him wait a couple of weeks and went back to his office. And that's when he shared with me his story about his grandfather and things like that. Because his family, Lippman Brothers, they were the very first distributors of Jack Daniel's whiskey. His grandfather was friends with Liam Motlow and Hap Motlow. So, you know, they got I guess they bought their first order. So the very first bottle of Heroes Vodka and the very first bottle of Jack Daniel's went through the same kind of process, which awesome. is pretty neat. So I gave Robert the very first bottle of Heroes Vodka with a set of dog tags on it and a Jewish cross there. He's Jewish, so I put the Star of David on it, and he really, you know, he's been really good to me. We have, I don't know how many veterans that works there in top-level executive positions, from West Point to the Owen School of Business Management. This guy was a Army medic, 5th Group Special Forces. He's about my age. And our former CFO, he's a Vietnam veteran. And our warehouse manager was also a helicopter pilot, went to West Point. So got a lot of good people there.
That's really cool.
So, yeah, it's actually... Go ahead.
Something else you mentioned about, you know, the networking and having some inroads with folks that you knew you could kind of tug on their heartstrings a little bit, being a veteran. But on the flip side of that, you know, you came prepared. You know, you didn't just take advantage of that. It seems like there's this percentage. I don't know how big it is, but it's probably a small chunk of our community. But they're kind of they kind of make us look bad sometimes. The ones that think that they're owed something just because
the entitlement people.
Yeah, entitlement people, exactly. The ones that go to the VA and then they walk next door to the Social Security Administration, and yet they're walking, you know, as opposed to being wheelchair bound or whatever. And I think it's really important, the point you made about being prepared. And, you know, people have dreams, but the difference between a dream and a goal is, you know, a dream's got an expiration date or a due date. And, you know, a real goal, one that you can follow through with, is, you know, like you're describing, you have to put the hard work into it and do the research and do the preparation to make it all come true. And I think this is just a fantastic story of veteran entrepreneurship. It's just something that all our veterans ought to be, you know, listening to this podcast over and over again to hear the things that you're saying about being successful.
It's really just a testament to the fact that if you have a dream, go after it.
Yes.
I mean, what have you got to lose? Seriously. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, you could lose some money and you could lose whatever, but at least if you go after it, at least you've tried. And if you don't try, you'll be sitting there your entire life wondering, man, I had that. And then the next thing you know, somebody else is going to grab onto your idea. Because especially in this day and age with like something like Heroes Vodka, you know, next thing you know, you'd have, you know, Semper Fi vodka or something.
That's happening a little bit, yeah.
You know, and I'm sure that there's other things. And you know what, too? I'm sure that you're along the lines with us is that, you know, just because they are a competitor doesn't mean you can't support each other as veterans.
Exactly. That's what we're doing with Lead Slingers.
Like, yeah, look at Lead Swingers and you. It's just the same kind of thing. It's like, you know, we're here, and you know what? The world's big enough for all of us. So if you have a dream, go after it, and we'll help you find it. You know.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. Go in the liquor store and look all those different Russian, Swedish vodkas and different things like that. You know, buy the American made, buy the veteran owned if you can. You know, there's so many options out there, and that's what I tell people. We're the only brand. Now I think there may be one more, but I know we were the first and the only mass produced that has veteran owned on every single bottle. We're certified by the National Veteran Owned Business Association. And the reason I put that on there is because, you know, made them a partner is because I'm a firm believer without the American veteran, we wouldn't have the American dream. So why not honor that service and give the people the option to support us? Because I'm not asking for a handout. I'm just asking to support my products and businesses. And we've won 5 gold medals, 4 silver medals. It's made by the most award-winning distillery in the world, Buffalo Trace. And the great thing about it is I'm $10 a bottle cheaper than Tito's vodka. And he's American made. Great story. And I tell people, if you can't find mine, buy his. It's great. The reason mine is cheaper is because I didn't have to build a distillery. You know, Mark Brown, the CEO of Buffalo Trace, wanted to help me because he has 50 veterans that works there.
Right.
So
give me a break. Buffalo Trace has got some seriously awesome products.
Yes. So, you know, they ran our first bottles on 11/11/11. You talk about a proud day for me to be on Veterans Day, which I was really hurting that day. We stayed out to 3 a.m. Celebrating the Marine Corps birthday. I had to get up at 6 to drive from there.
And you were testing products all night, I'm sure.
Well, I wrote a book also about, it's called Heroes of the Stage, Country Serving Country, about all the country music artists that serve. So that night I was doing a book signing at Valentino's restaurant to kick off the Marine Corps birthday, having some fun. And so it turned into a longer night than what we expected. But
nice.
We still had fun at the distillery because actually the lady over the bottling facility she was at West Point for the 6th class for female cadets. The warehouse manager was 11 Bravo Army from Iraq and Afghanistan. So they just have so many great veterans that works there and just do so many great things for our vets. They had the Eagle Rare whiskey. They give back a lot of money every year and highlight different people that's done extraordinary things.
Hey, I got to ask, why'd you choose vodka?
Great question. Because when I looked at it, of course, I studied Sidney Frank's story. And the reason you choose vodka, because vodka you can make the day and sell tomorrow. It is seasonless. It is gender neutral. And if you add up all the other spirit categories together, like whiskey, gin, and all that together, vodka outsells those combined. And vodka was started basically how it got big was in the 1940s at a bar called the Cock and Bull on Sunset Strip in Hollywood. There was a guy that had an overstock of ginger beer, and a guy just had the rights to Smirnoff vodka. So they made the first Moscow Mule in this little bar. But all the Hollywood actors used to go to this bar, and then they started going to New York when they worked on Broadway, so it kind of started spreading. And they didn't actually calculate the difference in spirits till the 70s, and that's when they found out that vodka was just killing it in all these categories because you don't have to age it.
Right.
At all. Right. But we plan on doing a whiskey at some point. I've got a couple more projects coming out in the next couple of years, but we want to get the Heroes Vodka off the ground. And our biggest challenge is we don't have a big marketing budget like Diageo and Brown-Forman. They have, we're like the Marine Corps of the spirit world, or even less. We're like the Boy Scouts of the spirit world. We're still small, but we have a story that nobody else has, and we have a product, that can compete with Kettle One Grey Goose. It's just I choose not to charge that much money for it because I make a good profit. I give away a substantial amount of money. Everybody makes money. That's the way it should be. It shouldn't be greedy that want so many points, they get so many points. It should be even for everybody. And
you're out there beating the bushes too. So again, you're putting in the hard work to get the word out.
Yes, and that's what my Frank used to tell me. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And of course, I always have the armchair quarterbacks and people that try to tell me how to do it. Then I find out they have no experience whatsoever in the spirits business. I'm like, I appreciate the advice, but this business is totally different. There's a 3-tier system. There's so many different laws in different states. I have to get briefings from different attorneys, look up different things. And certain states, I'm not allowed to pour my own product. It's a $5,000 fine. I can't just have it in my car and I pull up to your house and you come out and get some. That is against the law. So a lot of my friends forget that. So I've had to quit keeping product in my Jeep sometimes. They'll come out and, hey, can I get a bottle of vodka? I'm like, no, it's not the ice cream truck.
Right.
Can't do
it. That's funny.
So,
when you were describing all the distributing issues and signing on in this state or that state, it sounds like a real convoluted system, something that takes a lot of knowledge and experience to kind of navigate.
Oh, it is, because you're going up, like I say, against these big companies that have, if you ever go into a liquor store, you see how many vodkas are on the shelf, how many whiskeys are on the shelf. And because when I walk into a bar or especially a liquor store, they're like, oh, no, another vodka. I'm like, well, give me 5 minutes and I can show you the distinct differences. And 99.9% of the time I do get that support, but it's hard to get them to hand sell that to other people. But that's part of building a brand. It doesn't happen overnight. It usually takes 3 to 5 years. But we show them ways, like liquor stores. We say, once you have a relationship with a local charity, because, you get hit up for sponsors, I'm sure, all the time. That's what I tell them. I said, get the half-gallon bottle. Have all your local veterans that shop here, your firemen, your police sign these bottles, and you contact the charity. They'll buy it from you from face value, but then they have legalities to raffle this off and make some pretty good amount of money like that because we did that for the Navy SEAL Foundation, was wanting us to donate some money. And we said, we just first started out with like, what we can do is we can do the vodka on a charity rate, and then I'll sign all of them. Then you have all the Navy SEALs sign them, and they made a lot of money that way off that.
That's awesome.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, and then we're developing a store here pretty soon. We'll have shirts and hats, and we're going to do some signs where you can make your own man cave sign that, Bennett's Bar proudly serves Heroes Vodka. We can make those up, have them framed. We have these great canteen cups will be coming out, which I think we're the first ones to do this. They have the Moscow mules with the copper mugs. Well, we actually have canteen cups, the old aluminum ones that we have our logo on. It says every purchase supports American veterans for our Heroes mules. So we'll have those in quite a few bars coming up, and on sale online too. We're giving back so much for that back too.
Very cool.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, and we just got an email the other day from the Delta team that was in the news about the raid over there. One of the guys' wives found out about us, so we just sent them a very nice care package with some cigars, some lighters, and some Heroes Vodka, and some different products we carry there.
Well, there you go. I smell a promo code coming somewhere in the near future here, gents. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
But, hey, America, if you haven't already done so, click subscribe, and then immediately go get Heroes Vodka. Subscribe, but subscribe first. I mean, no offense. It's kind of our podcast. But, subscribe first and then immediately get Heroes Vodka, because that is awesome.
Exactly.
There you go.
Little shameless product placement never hurt anyone.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
No big whooping.
Yeah, I wish you guys would be out at the USS Iowa this coming Saturday. I'm on the USS Iowa battleship. It's a museum now. We're having a Heroes Vodka Sailor Jerry's bar, and they're having a lot of the old pinup girls come there, and some helicopters landing there. They're doing some. I think some of the guys from the Sons of Anarchy from the TV show is going to be there. Joe Montalia from Criminal Minds is going to be there. We're working with American Soldiers Network with Annie Nelson. I don't know if y'all know her, but she does an amazing job for the sailors, Marines out there, and everything. Soldiers.
That's awesome.
The USS Iowa is a serious boat too.
Yes.
Those are 16-inch guns we got on that one.
Yeah, so that's going to be a good experience. And Larry Broughton, I think, is going to be there, and Daryl's going to come out. Daryl Farzio there.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Those guys, we love them. Larry Broughton, met him at NatCon. We saw him at NatCon last year as well.
So. Yeah. I mean, Larry's became good friends. And a funny story about Larry is my mom seen him on Facebook, this contest he was having he was looking for veterans he would thought be successful in business. So he picked, about 6 people. And so I found out, I entered it, and I called him up on the phone. His secretary, he got the phone. He said, "Travis, I can't talk to you. I'm one of the judges, but, I'm going to look at your stuff." So you got to take that initiative. So you just got to call if they say no or something. At least they made an impression that I really wanted to be part of this. And I was nice and respectful about it. And so I got chosen. He flew me out to Santa Monica to his hotel, the Georgian. And I got to meet Arlie Ermy for 2 days.
Right.
And he's like a god to the Marines there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kelly Purdue won season 2 of Apprentice. He was a West Point graduate. And Alden Mills, the Navy SEAL that did the perfect push-up. So
yeah.
That's right before I first got started. I had everything ready to launch like the next month for the first bottles, but it gave me that last part of encouragement that I needed. And then with Larry's relationship and network, it's really helped me to show that we're not just a gimmick. There's a real person behind this, and it's a real reason behind it. So, and Larry's taught me a lot of stuff too in the business world. He's kind of like my mentor now. That's one thing you need if you're in business. You need someone that holds you accountable. You need a mentor to talk to and tell your problems to, because sometimes you can't do that with your staff, because unfortunately it changes the relationship dynamics if you get too close to your administrative assistant, your operations manager or something. There's certain chain of command you got to have there, and that's always hard to do.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, mentorship, a little leadership input from time to time. That's pretty important in every aspect of life. And a lot of Marines get out and they think that, well, I was a leader for however long, so I'm just going to go out and kill this.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always work that way.
No,
yeah, I could think of worse mentors to have as well than Larry.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, Larry's awesome.
Yeah, then I met Daryl through Larry. Me and Daryl became really good friends, and so it's been a fun experience to meet people like that, that's had their same adversity, and they're just like anybody else, That's why people look at other people, these rich people or these famous people, and they think there's something is special about them. There's nothing really special about them. What's special about them is they went out there and done it. You know, they went out there and, you know, left the cave, killed it, and brought it back home. And it's not always easy sometimes when you're out there doing that. And that's the sacrifice you have to make. There's some sacrifices in business as well, just like the military. It's very, very hard and lonely sometimes, because now the buck does stop with me. You know, I have to, when I get done, a lot of my friends think I go out and party all the time. I'm traveling, doing this great things. They don't realize after the party's over, I'm the guy that's returning 25, 30 email messages a day, right. Talking to, like when I launched into California, just the managers meetings, 300 managers I had to get up and speak in front of. That's not counting their sales reps. And then I have 15 states to try to manage with all their different accounts. And then you have so many bars in each state, people calling you and emailing you. It's very, very hard. And sometimes people will get upset with you because you don't get back to them in time. But you got to separate. I've learned there's the givers and the takers. There's so many people that want to work with you. You know, they want to pay it forward and they'll help you and you help them. But then you have the takers that just wants to be part of something because they think you're doing something that gets attention, which we are. But you've also, you know, it's a give and take business. And you'll learn that. I've, like people like Justin, you know, I've met people like that's great, you know, so we've developed relationships because so many people just want to shove their business card down your throat or get you to do something. And it's not that. It's that relationship that has to be nurtured, and so that you're going to help each other.
Yes,
absolutely. Practice to have everyone leave the table happy when you're trying to go into some sort of, you know, some sort of
partnership.
Yeah.
Link up. We see, it's funny because around here we always just play right off the military analogies. I'll just flat out tell you. Anytime I reach out to another veteran that's out there, I'm like, hey, what's up, Mike Penny, Cigars and Sea Stories. Just want to touch base as a adjacent unit. You know, see what's going on out there in the AO and stuff. Hey, maybe we can cross pollinate, what have you. Because that's what it's all about, man. I mean, Jesus, dude. There is no one else in the entire world that's going to help out a veteran except for another veteran. That is the hard, fast truth.
Yeah.
No, that's the
I mean,
civilians don't even have that.
Right.
So,
right.
In that regard, we are truly fortunate in that. I mean, every veteran we've spoken to include you, Travis, has told us.
No, that's the beautiful truth, though, because civilians don't even have that.
Yes, it does.
Like
so in that regard, we are truly fortunate in that. I mean. Every veteran we've spoken to include you, Travis, has told us that being a veteran opens those doors. And it's not that it's like a vetting process for, at the very least, hey, I could be in the same room with this person and have a good conversation. From there, it's like, oh, wait, you do this?
Right.
You're looking for that kind of help? You know what? I know a guy who's
just gotta look through
the
them.
Navy, and he does.
I mean, I found out through the military spouses and the military children. You know, they still have that bond, like the sons of AMVETS, the sons of American Legion. I meet these guys; they're so proud, you know, and they're like, they're kind of like me being a Marine. You know, doesn't actually have to go to combat. You always have that guilt and association of not doing that, even though you're trained and wanted to do that. A lot of these spouses, you know, they didn't have to do that, or they didn't sign up for the job. It's harder for them, or the sons of some of these veterans who didn't serve for whatever reason. You know, could have been health, it could have been physical or whatever, you know, they have that burden. They feel like they have to prove something. Right. So those are great people that will help you too as well sometimes.
So I think one of the biggest lessons that the military taught all of us is that we understand that, I mean, you know, we all throw around names of people and big shots in this business or whatnot. But I think that the one thing that the military taught us is we know that everyone puts their pants on one leg at a time. So we know that even the 4-star general or the private at the base of it all, we're all the same type of person. So we do not hesitate to go out there and, like you said, Travis, you know, I'll give him a call because what's the worst thing he's going to do is say no, or at the very least, like Jocelyn said, we at least know that we're going to be able to commiserate and bullshit a little bit because we are veterans. So, you know.
Yep. So, and that's something that, like Travis said earlier, you know, you were talking about only about 1% of Americans have ever served. And actually that number is like 0.45% of Americans are serving. So, you know, when you look at the networks that we're building for each other, you know, the question we ask ourselves as veterans is, you know, if we're not going to do it for ourselves, if we're not going to help one another, well, who the hell is? You know, because they're not, because they don't get it. And, you alluded to this earlier. There's just, in America at large, there's no skin in the game.
No.
The military's been at war for the last 14, 15 years, but America sure as hell hasn't. And so the only people that are going to get it are people that have served like you and us and others. But, so there's that small kind of gun club that we all have to fall back on. And I know there's a lot of veterans that get out, or, a lot of servicemen that get out and they become veterans. And they think, well, I'm just going to do it by myself. I don't want anything to do with the military anymore. I'm done. And they try to cut off all ties. Those guys, and I was one of them, they learn the hard way and they come crawling back looking for something, trying to find that new mission to kind of replace what they lost when they got out. And, you're only going to do that if you stay connected with your veteran community. So
that's the biggest thing I've seen, because, we are losing over 22 a day. I mean, 22 is what's reported in the media, but it's more like 40, I believe, because Texas and California doesn't report that. And that's one thing I got a lot of, pushback a little bit when I first came out from some of the media people, of course, trying to say I was trying to make the money off the blood off dead soldiers and Marines or some bullshit like that. It's like, first of all, I lost two of my best friends I served with. They're also police officers. We have drinks together. We're not all alcoholics. We're not all broken. We're not all homeless. That's one thing I try to show the media. There's very successful veterans in business, and we take care of our own. And first of all, I fought for the right to drink whatever I want to drink. But, if you have a problem with alcohol, I don't want you to buy my product, period. But for the millions that don't, why don't you raise your glass with Heroes Vodka to the honor, courage, and commitment of these people? Because we do give back, and we do help those that may have a problem. And that's the great thing about America. We have the freedom to choose. I just hate when they try to be hypocritical. I had a lady do that in a store I was in a bottle, and she had a bottle of wine, and she was a nurse at a VA trying to give me this bullshit. Like, ma'am, I don't want to hear another word from you. You have a bottle of wine in your hand, so I'm a veteran. I'm not allowed to drink.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, at the end of the day, there's more of us that are successful than not. So, I mean, I happen to work in a VA as well. And, I see the guys that are hurting on a daily basis, but they're far outnumbered by guys that are doing the right thing every day and making a difference and whatnot. So
exactly,
and killing it like Travis McVey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So in wrapping things up here, I got to ask you, what has been the biggest oh shit moment in business where, like, you know what, I got to throw everything out the window and just remember my training? I'm a Marine. What's up?
Yeah, there's been a couple. The first time ever is when I go into a bar and order my own damn vodka when I see it on the back bar. That's always the coolest experience I ever got. And then my Marine buddies, they always give me a hard time because the girl asked me, what do I do for a living? What do you say? So I own a vodka company, so they always give me I'm used as a pickup line, which I don't. I just usually say I'm in the wine and spirits business. But it's and that was on the Chelsea Lately show was one of the biggest things, just sitting in a car to be on a national television show like that. And I'm the only person, I believe, the only guest she's ever pulled out of the audience. And I got to invite my friend Larry Broughton to come down and sit in the dressing room with me, as that encouragement to be with me at that moment. And so it was just really cool to do that. And
yes.
But the best moment I ever had is when I met my best friend Tom's. Two moments. I met my friend Richard Gaston's daughter. Now she's probably 18, and she gave me his chevrons and the shotgun shell at his funeral. So that was the last round for that.
That's
so that
awesome.
was, and just to see her in his eyes, I could see him in her smile, just little things. And then my friend Thomas, I met his brother, which was almost like looking at a ghost because he came in and it floored me. But he went in and he's doing the same job that Tom did in the same Army National Guardian and EOD, which I know it terrifies his mom because I got to meet his mom too, and she brought me a bottle of Heroes Vodka that she got from the store. And I want me to sign it. And I said, ma'am, you never have to buy a bottle of this. But it was just touching. And she gave me his challenge coin. When he was killed, they made a special memorial thing for him. And she took me out to the cemetery, to see his grave and stuff. So it was just touching, but, also fulfilling because I know these guys. I still, I see them in my mind's eye when I go into a bar over smiling at me, raising a glass because we used to have a few drinks together and, listen to music, smoke cigars, and just, talk shit. So it's a lot of fun.
Smoking and joking, my friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
So those guys, I look forward to seeing them one day with the smoking lights lit up there, and we can have a few drinks and have a good time.
Amen.
Yeah.
Travis McVey, it's been a privilege and an honor. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Before I go, www.heroesvodka.com and like us and all that social media stuff. My marketing people will kill me if I don't say that.
Awesome. We'll blow it up on it for you.
There you go.
I appreciate it, guys. But yeah, we just want to give the American people, let them know, there's veteran-owned businesses out there and products out there now. We can compete, and we have the awards and the drive behind it. It's not only that, we have a mission behind it, and that's to give back and to help and raise awareness. So that's what it's all about.
That's it, man.
Hell yes.
That's it.
Hey, and hit us up with any updates you have.
Yes.
We'll throw it all out there for you. We'll get as many people as we can get to listen to at least see it.
Heck yes, that's what we're all about.
Yeah, sign up on that website. We send out that newsletter all the time. I know they're getting ready to update that because we have a lot of events coming up next week with different bottle signs because I'm giving back $14,000 this year. So
as many people as we
that's big for us, and it's going to be growing every year. It's grown every year. Like I say, once we hit the Sveka and Skies, we're talking 10 to 12 million where I can start handing keys and college educations to people and cars and all that fun stuff.
Nice.
So.
Brother, I hope we see you at the National Convention in Charlotte in February.
Yes, I'm definitely going to try to do that, guys. I appreciate that. And if you ever come out to I may be at the SHOT Show in January. I'm not sure, but I will be at the largest liquor convention in Vegas in April at Caesar's Palace for a week. So
Nice.
Cool. Hell yes.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Hell yes. If we can help out in any way, shape, or form, we're here as an adjacent
let
unit.
us know.
Support
let
the
us
cause,
know.
man.
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Like people that in states that don't have it, there's a store in New York that does ship to certain places. So y'all can message me sometimes, and I can show you how to do that.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Okay, Bennett, Michael, and Tim, I appreciate your guys' time and everything.
Right on. Yes. Absolutely.
Thanks, Travis.
Yeah, man. It's been great having you, Travis.
Take care. Be well, brother.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Thank you so much to Travis McVey of Heroes Vodka, founder, fellow Marine. Awesome story. If you haven't already done so, get on Heroes Vodka website, follow them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter, check them out. Make sure that you like their page. Also, if you haven't already done so, click subscribe. Give us a rating, give us a review. We're trying to get on new and noteworthy on iTunes. Put us up there, folks. We're dying to see what your comments are. They literally make the show. So tell us who you want to talk to. If you got another suggestion, tell us who you want to shop with. Tell us who you want us to have for sponsors. And if you haven't already done so, check out Counter-Strike Coffee. You get 10% off when you use promo code Cigars and Sea. Go ahead, get 10% off with Cigars and Sea. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. This has been awesome. Jocelyn, cue the music, brother.